Well, thank you so much for inviting us here tonight. We're going to shift our focus from our own backyard here in San Jose now to halfway around the world. Village Enterprise has the mission to end extreme poverty in rural East Africa by increasing households' incomes and savings. Now, you may know that the World Bank defines extreme poverty as people living at the level of $1.25 a day or less. But what does that really mean? What does that look like? Imagine you live in a mud hut with a leaky straw roof, and you sleep on a sheet on the dirt floor. And you don't have enough resources to have all of your children attend school, or some just maybe some of the time, because you can't afford the school fees and uniforms. You try to grow enough food to sustain your family, but that's a struggle, especially in the dry season. And every day you're out looking for day labor, maybe working another neighbor's fields or hauling water for someone. Village Enterprise provides a path out of this extreme poverty through what's becoming known as a graduation type program. We deliver a 1-year, 5-part program that starts with very careful targeting of who are the very, very poorest. And we do that through conversations and involvement with the local villagers themselves, identifying their poorest. Then our indigenous staff provides a year of business trainings, a grant of just $150 to start a business, ongoing mentoring, and a group business savings program. Our business mentors are local villagers coming from the very villages we're working in Western Kenya and a swath of region across northern Uganda currently. Each business is run by 3 people together who collectively support, on average, 20 family members. And this model is really cost effective. It costs us $500 to start a business, which translates to just $25 per live impacted. After 1 year, we are constantly tracking a number of measures to see how our families are progressing and improving. And we know on average that in the year, they double their personal savings. They see their standard of livings rise by 35%. That's in terms of what they are able to consume and purchase. And as a group, they have saved an additional $450. We have replicated this program again and again in many villages. To date, we've started 33,000 small businesses, and those have impacted 700,000 people. Thank you. So that's kind of the facts and figures of who we are and what we do, but what I really want to talk about tonight is our people, and in particular through 2 stories. I'm 1 slide ahead here. This is Apofia, who lived in a village outside of Tororo, Uganda, and I met her several years ago. She struggled every single day to find enough food to feed herself and her 3 daughters. She lived each day with absolutely no hope that tomorrow would be any different. And so just to survive, she consumed all the food she could find every day or any money she earned. It was all gone at the end of the day. One day, she heard about a training that was going to be happening in her village just under the tree. She was not even formally a part of the Village Enterprise program at this point. And she showed up and just hung on the edge. And that day she heard things she knew nothing about. She heard about savings and business planning. And so she left that meeting feeling motivated for the first time in her life that maybe tomorrow would be different. So she started putting aside very small number of shillings until she had enough to buy some improved seed and fertilizer for a cash crop, which she then took to the market and sold. And she continued to save, and next she could buy a bicycle and get her produce to an even better market. And when I met her, she had just built a wonderful brick home with a tin roof. Her 3 girls were all in school, and she was showing off this new pen for her pigs. Village Enterprise taught Apofia that she could believe tomorrow will be different. And with some business knowledge and training, it did lift her life from despair to hope. My second story here is of Joseph living in the Amurrio district in Uganda. Like Apophia, Joseph and his family was struggling to make a living. In fact, he described it as almost impossible before Village Enterprise came to his village. He and his family were subsistence farmers growing millet, cassava, and groundnuts, but it was insufficient to sustain them, especially in the dry season. His wife frequently quarreled with him because she wanted money for luxuries like a mattress and a cooking pan, but there was no money. Through the Village Enterprise program, Joseph and his group started a goat rearing business, and the goats rapidly multiplied. Today, he proudly says they can afford 3 and even 4 meals a day. All his children are in school, and his oldest is in boarding school. He can afford to buy his wife luxuries like minor beauty products and that new cooking pan. But for Joseph, the changes did not stop at his family. They had important ripple effects in his community. One of the biggest problems in his village was the local town drunk, a man who made and sold local brew and drank it himself. One day Joseph went to him and told him what he had learned through Village Enterprise, and he made an extraordinary offer. He offered to partner with the village drunk to start a business. And they did. He took him up on it. They traveled to the town nearby to buy green grams and sour gum, brought it back to sell in their village. And Joseph is so excited that this neighbor no longer makes brew to sell, and in fact no longer drinks himself. He is a completely changed man. When we asked Joseph what change has been most significant for him personally, he says, "I used to sit around waiting for government relief. I never dreamed of starting something myself. Now I have the knowledge to start any kind of business." I hope you feel that common thread in Apophia and Joseph's story. It's a thread of transformation. From being in a position where they feel the basics of life are impossible to moving to where anything's possible, including improvements in their family and community relationships. We hear about these transformations in almost every story. Here are a few just more quick snippets. Catherine says, "I used to beg from my neighbors, and I know I was a nuisance to them. With my business, I now have enough resources. I enjoy better relationships with my family, and through the savings group, I've made friends. Before, I had none." Or Vivian, who is the chairlady of her business savings group, she says, "I've gained new skills in working with people, like how to set meetings and mobilize people into action." And Samuel says, "The training strengthened my carpentry skills by giving me the confidence to use them in a business. By working as a group, we have realized the spirit of working together as one. And this aspect of teamwork is a big change, for before we were people who were not united." While the economic changes are obviously paramount to what we're trying to accomplish, I hope you hear how important these social and emotional outcomes are too. No longer begging from neighbors and feeling shame. Having respect from family and community members. Making friends. Discovering that knowledge brings confidence. Feeling proud of the skills to mobilize your neighbors and work together. We are so grateful for this partnership with SV2. Your funding is moving us into this new phase to significantly scale our impact and unlock potential for another 700,000 people like Joseph and Apophia in just the next 5 years. And we're very excited to have you involved in the Beyond the Dollars consulting efforts to help us transform our own organization too, through improved marketing, PR, becoming known as a thought leader in our industry, and communicating better our impact to attract new donors. We have a special invitation for you all to come to East Africa with us this summer and see the impact. And 2 of our staff, Lucy Wirtz and Carlene Bernardi, are here tonight. Would be happy to tell you more. A recent Nicholas Kristof New York Times column title sums up the impact you are having. "The power of hope is real."